This is my workstation. I call it a desk. It's not a desk. It's a side table, let's be real. It's an IKEA side desk that literally still has the like movers tape on it from when I moved into this place 3 years ago. And this is all of my writing. So if I, and as you can see, here we go. Yeah, I don't know if you can really see that. I should screen record some stuff and, what's it called? Voiceover. I can screen record and voiceover the next part, but don't judge me too harshly, please. Okay, so now that I am screen recording, you can read this prologue to give an idea of the Ezra story, which I have titled Demon Seed. Working title, as with all of my titles. So, a little backstory about Ezra. Maybe I can just read this prologue. When Olivius first dropped me on this god-forsaken rock, I spent years chasing him, interrogating the ones who would talk, torturing the ones who wouldn't. I existed to hunt him, to break the old magic he'd used to bind me here, to bring him and the other betrayers to justice. That burning hate was the only thing that kept me going. Time meant nothing. I took whoever I wanted, whenever I wanted. It was foolish. I was short-sighted. Trouble found me in the 14th century when I finally caught up with him in Italy. The plague had ravaged much of Europe. I was in desperate need of a new body, but didn't want to lose him. Back then, I slept many days after a transition, and knew I wouldn't get a second chance if he disappeared. I was young, weak, in no condition to fight someone that strong. He zapped me, took my ability to scan human DNA. An invalid, roaming the streets of Italy in the thick of the plague, I struggled for 3 years trying to find someone compatible. My flesh began to rot. I went blind. My hair fell out. I couldn't get close to anyone, not close enough to take their life, and there was nothing sweeter than that feeling. Breathing that life in, the raw energy that coursed through my veins. Every cell, the complexity of information held within a single human. Nothing could replace that high. That first hit as I processed their genetic makeup. The change could be excruciating, although I was used to it now. Nothing more than a prickle as I absorbed their vitality, their essence. It was a young girl, barely 5 years old, who approached me in that dank alleyway. I had never taken anyone so young before, but I couldn't die there. Not while Olivius was still out there. If I hadn't lost my vision, I would have noticed her hair was not tattered, and her shoes shone bright beneath her blue dress. It was the first time I was forced to integrate with humans. Tiny humans were even more useless than full-grown ones. I made my first rule. They must not be missed. Humans clumped together in groups. The key was to find the singular person who stood out, or rather, who didn't. The invisible one in the back corner no one looked twice at, the ones lost in the system, no family to miss them, the problem child who ran away. As technology advanced, it became imperative to find humans who could slip through the cracks. No one could question these disappearances. They all happened over time, in different locations, to various age groups. This was how I'd survived. I went home, slept, tried to forget how far I had fallen. I dreamt, always of him, Olivius. He escaped, slipped through the cracks, back into the darkness, back to my home, Parthenax, where I couldn't go, could never reach. Olivia's faded away. She came back, clouded my vision, dancing on the summer winds. Lily, my calla lily. The freckles that speckled her nose, the untamed orange hair. I could ignore all of that But what frightened me was what I saw in those eyes. Those vivid green, soulful eyes. The life I gave her. So many had died by my hand, but not her. I had not killed her. I had saved her. A human had tainted these hands. A tattoo on my being for all the world to see. Ezra saved Lillian Wells. So a little backstory on Ezra. He is a demon. He's not a hero. If anything, he's probably more like an anti-hero. So, Ezra was dropped onto Earth somewhere between the 10th and 11th century. He cannot survive on Earth. This realm is toxic to him. So, basically, how he survives is he goes to someone and sort of like absorbs their DNA and body morphs into them. And then the original person just turns to dust, ash. They turn to ash. And as it happens, when you have an immortal soul trying to take on mortal flesh, there is this sort of like breakdown that happens because the mortal body can't hold the immortal soul inside of it for very long. And so every so many years, the body that Ezra is living in, humans are just like a meat sack for him. It sounds so bad. I don't think he views it that way. I think over time he has, in his own weirdly construed way, has learned how, or has come to appreciate the quote unquote gift that these people give him, so that he can continue living, so that he can eventually make it back to the realm of hell that he is from, essentially. So that's backstory on Ezra. The chapter that I wanted to read, oh yeah, do you like my titles? Who Are You? Because Ezra is Crazy Talk. Awkward Moment, I Killed Your Mom. Ezra following Lily like a puppy. Oh yes, here we are. That time Ezra threw Marcus in a raging river. This is the chapter we want. When Ezra taught Lily how to punch someone, experiencing joy and other sexual tension, fate being unnecessarily difficult, as fate does. You might die around the new year, sorry. Oh my god. When we built IKEA furniture, then got drunk. All spoilers, Marcus stabs. I'm not going to tell you who Marcus stabs. That's for me. That's the author. So to tell you a little bit about Ezra and Marcus. So Ezra was dropped here around the 10th or 11th century. And he met Marcus, I want to say, pretty close after Olivius almost killed him. I feel like Marcus probably had a hand in delivering that poor 5-year-old to Ezra so that he could survive, because he was not meant to die he was not meant to die there. And that's the other thing. So Ezra talks about a betrayal. Olivius did betray him. Olivius was Ezra's best friend. So I know that's a little bit of a cliche, but there's good reason for it. There's good reason for it. I know I say there's good reason for his betrayal, but there really is a good reason for why Olivius usurped the throne. So that's the other thing. Ezra is a demon. Ezra is a king. So he is a demon and a king. King demon of the 4th realm of hell, called Parthenax. And so he met Marcus probably around somewhere in the 1500s. Somewhere in there. Don't know exactly when. I mean, Ezra's memory from back then is a little sketchy. It was a long time ago. So whatever he can tell me is, roundabout at best. So him and Marcus go way back. I feel like Ezra is pretty rough with Marcus. I mean, Ezra's a demon. He's not exactly the nicest guy. He's not the boy next door. He's a demon. But they have this bromance that I love, which I feel is highlighted quite well in this chapter, and it's one of the reasons why I wanted to read it to you. So I guess I'll read the chapter and then I will go through it with you guys. At that time, Ezra threw Marcus in a raging river. I feel like I might not need backstory for here, but honestly, if you guys are confused about anything, you can pop a note in the comments and I will do my best to answer spoiler free. So this is first person. I is Ezra. I met Marcus at his apartment in the early morning. He'd managed several leads on Fate, and for some reason, we decided to find a gulag. Except the only gulag we knew was the sandworm, which meant not only a long hike into the depths, but also reliving possibly the worst experience I'd had since being forced into this awful human shell. I will say, Ezra and Marcus they currently live in London, so they are talking in English accents, but I am not going to attempt that because I have learned my lesson on trying to do accents. So I'm going to read this with a Canadian accent, and you're going to imagine that some hunky English actor is voice acting them. Marcus, why did you insist on meeting me at such an early hour? Marcus dipped a paintbrush into a bucket of pig's blood and drew several runes on his living room wall. Portals only open between 4 and 5 a.m. now. What? Since when? Must be at least a century now. He grabbed a dagger and carved a line down the center. You know how humans tend to find a way into places? The crack rippled, and Marcus pushed the wall aside as if opening a curtain. Seems not many humans practice this sort of thing at this hour. If someone's doing a portal ritual at 4 in the bloody morning, they deserve to find whatever hellish dimension they're looking for. I stepped past Marcus, through the wall, and out the other side into a big puddle of slime. I lifted my boot and let out a large sigh. These were a good pair of boots, too. Well, ain't that mingin', mate? Marcus appeared behind me with a satchel slung across his shoulders. We've got 3 days before the portal here reopens. I looked around, and where is here exactly? There is nothing but sheer rock wall on either side of us. Just a little smoke and mirrors. Marcus walked through the wall to our left. The gulag don't take too kindly to humans anymore. I followed Marcus through the wall. After a short 5-minute walk, we found ourselves in front of a large cave. I scrunched my nose at the smell. Remind me why we decided to look for the sandworm? For some unknown reason, she's very fond of you. Marcus grabbed a rock for leverage as he climbed up into the black hole. Thick slime coated his hand and arm. Bloody hell! I climbed around to the other side of the rock. I can't say I'm very fond of her. He grabbed a water bottle from his satchel and washed off the slime. She's the only one not actively trying to kill you. I stepped around a large boulder. What? Who's trying to kill me? Marcus tossed the bottle into a crack in the wall. Well, Morag chased you with the hot pokers last time. Right. And Dinsa actually shot you in the shoulder. Oh yeah. There was also Gorma. Which one was she? Castration. Ah, yes. And don't forget Yama. I shuddered. We brought a gift for the sandworm, right? One does not travel several miles into a long, dark cave without a gift for the sandworm. Marcus pulled out a golden crown studded with jewels. It even sparkles. She lives in the darkest depths of existence. It's hardly going to catch the light. But it'll make it more appealing. He shoved it back in his bag. We're here to suck up, remember? As long as she doesn't suck up me. I hopped down a ledge and crawled deeper into the cave. I had to shave my head to get the stench out. Marcus laughed. If only cameras had existed then. You would dare blackmail me? A good demon always has a card up his sleeve. Marcus shimmied through a narrow crack. With you, I'm sure there's 10. The cave opened up into a giant hall with large stony pillars. The sound of rushing water could be heard from further ahead. We made our way across the room until we arrived at a large, gushing river. I don't remember it being so raging last time, I said. That's because we'd come in the summer, he replied. I walked along the river's edge until I found the bridge, or what remained of it. I grabbed the rope and pulled several feet of it out of the water. The end had frayed and torn. The wood planks were nowhere in sight. Don't suppose you've got another way across. Marcus clapped my back. Aren't you a strong swimmer? Brilliant idea, Marcus. We can tie this rope around your waist so you don't get lost in the undercurrent. You don't actually expect me to swim across here. I pegged him with a look. Do you have a better idea? He laughed nervously. You swim across? I wrapped the rope around him and secured it in a tight knot. I have great faith in your abilities. Marcus looked from me to the water. It's a misplaced faith, really. Ready? Ezra, I picked him up by the collar and tossed him in the water. The river gobbled up Marcus's scream. I watched the rope disappear into the water until it pulled taut on the post. I was fairly certain Marcus couldn't die. I guess this would be a good test. I didn't start to feel nervous until the 20-minute mark. With such a strong current, it would be a pain to fish his limp body from the water. I took hold of the rope, and just as I was about to pull, Marcus shone a light from across the river. It hit me right in the eyes, momentarily blinding me. At first I thought he was looking for me, but it happened again, and again, and I was fairly certain after the 5th time he was just pissed about almost drowning. Ezra, the river drowned out the rest of the phrase. Marcus, I can't hear you. I'll tie. He motioned the rope with his flashlight and then shined it on the post. To the post. I waited for him to secure the rope and then tugged it a few times to ensure it wouldn't come loose. I didn't think Marcus would purposely sabotage my passage across the river, even if he was a bit cross about the swimming bit. I grabbed hold of the rope and swung around so I dangled from my arms and legs. Water hit my back as I shimmied across the river. It soaked my clothes, so by the time I reached the other side, even my hair was dripping. You messed up my hair, Marcus said. Is that really what's important right now? It is when I'd rather not get eaten by the sandworm today. I hardly think your hair is going to make a difference, I said. From the person that got eaten last time, he grumbled. We followed the river down, deeper into the cave until it split off, and the path turned left. Hopefully, our rope bridge would still be there on our way back. Water dripped from the ceiling. The soft pit, pit, pit as it hit the rock floor echoed off the walls. The air was more stagnant down here, made the smell of rotting corpses that much more pronounced. Should have brought a gas mask, I said. Oh yeah, Marcus scoffed. I'm sure the sandworm would take kindly to us showing up with those. I stepped in something. It oozed and squished beneath my foot. I choked back a gag when it made a squelching sound. I questioned using the flashlight so I didn't step on anything else, but I also had no desire to see what was in here. We made our way slowly, being careful to dodge whatever littered the floor. We were close. Can you hear her breathing? I asked. Marcus stopped and listened. Is it snoring? She wouldn't be sleeping at this time of night, I said. The path we were on narrowed and then opened up into a large room. The sandworm sat on her throne on the far side. It was more a raised platform, but I learned the hard way not to call it that. I nudged Marcus forward. After you. He took a tentative step forward. Oh, great Gulag ruler, it is your friends, Marcus and Ezra. She spoke. Well, it was less like actual words and more like tonal grunts, really. I leaned over to Marcus. What's she saying? Says you're a bit of a wanker for not visiting sooner. Marcus reached into his satchel and pulled out the crown. He brought you a lovely gift, though. I took the crown from Marcus and walked across the room, placing it at the sandworm's feet. I inspected them all and only picked the one that sparkled brightest. This seemed to make her quite happy. Her tail came around and blocked me in. A wave of warm slime enveloped my feet. The smell was quite overpowering this close. Marcus continued to translate for me. Says thanks. Wonders if you can stay this time. I tensed every muscle in my body that might shudder. Unfortunately, this human shell doesn't withstand much. I swallowed a gag when something wet touched my hair. Perhaps we could stay just one night, though? She'll prepare a feast, Marcus said. She understands your current body is weak and will request our quarters be in a safe space. Thank you for such kind hospitality. I bowed my head. I knew from the moment we met, fate had indeed brought us together. Marcus piped up, That Fate is a funny girl, ain't she? Wonder if I might have a word with her myself. The sandworm gurgled loudly in what I suspected was supposed to be a laugh. Her deep grunts were difficult to discern still. I turned to Marcus. Later, he mouthed, and turned his attention back to the sandworm. Could you set me up with Fate, love? The sandworm's tail pushed me closer in. I tried to hide the worried expression as Marcus tried to negotiate my release. Once he's no longer trapped as a human, I am sure he would love to return and stay for some time, he explained. However, if you keep him as he is now, he would die on the first night. My eyes shot to Marcus. The first night of what? He waved me off. Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying, love. I really do appreciate your understanding in this matter. The sandworm let me go, and Marcus grabbed my arm. Time to go, Ezra. Go where? He pulled me back out of the room and down a long hall. Earth. We're leaving after telling her we'd stay? I dug my heels into the ground, but Marcus had found a strength I didn't know existed because he wasn't stopping. I thought we needed the sandworm to like us. Marcus finally let me go once we'd passed through a narrow passageway. The sandworm had a bit of interesting information I thought you'd like to hear, but I couldn't very well repeat it in front of her because she does like you so bloody much. About fate? About a young girl with red hair. I froze. About a what? Marcus nodded enthusiastically. Yeah, right? Turns out when I mentioned fate, she said she heard through the grapevine some big plan to axe a redhead. Sound familiar? What's so big about that news that it's got even the gulag talking about it? That ain't even the most interesting bit. Marcus leaned closer. Seem fate's on the move because of it. As in she's left Morai's realm? He pointed a finger at me. And if she's left Morai's realm, she's not hidden. It was difficult to contain my excitement. So where is she? That one's a bit more difficult. He motioned for me to follow him. If we can get home, I can hop over to Toram and ask a colleague who might know. There's just one problem. This whole endeavor has been one big problem, Marcus. I think fate will read your intentions if you meet her. We rounded a corner and were back at the river. If she knows why we want the information, she's not going to give it to us. Is fate so unsure of herself that a mere human could interrupt her plans? I paused at the rope bridge and turned to him. What about your intentions? Ezra, my intentions are and always have been to help you get home. One would never know the way you muck it up all the time. Yeah, well, you think Olivius would have dropped you here if it were easy to get you back? This seems a bit excessive. I sat on the edge of the path and tried to clean the slime off me with the river water. Ah, bugger. I think she's gone and ruined my boots. Count yourself lucky he thinks you're dead. Marcus grabbed a spray bottle from his satchel. Could you imagine what he'd do if he came back and found your little human friend? If he ever touched Lily, he'd wish for Prometheus's punishment. Marcus sprayed my boots and the remaining slime dissolved in the water. That should do it. How'd you do that? A little trick I found last time. He shook the bottle and grinned. Vinegar. You're quite useful when you want to be, I said. Ezra, I'm always useful. You just fail to see it. He tugged the rope. What would you have done if I died in the water? I was at least 80% sure you wouldn't die. What about the other 20? He balked. Were you really going to let me drown? You swam across the English Channel to win a 10-pound bet, as if you couldn't do this. 10 pounds was a lot of money back. He stopped. Weren't you looking for yellow when that happened? I had half a ton on you not making it. I grabbed the rope and swung my legs around. But look at you, surprising us all. You bright little bugger, you. He grabbed for me and I crawled out of reach. Wait till I get across this bridge. I hopped off on the other side and made my way up the path. Marcus came scrambling after me. His foot hit my calf and I laughed. Was that supposed to hurt? I dodged a fist. Are you really that angry? I can't believe you bet against me. He punched my arm. We're supposed to be friends. Do friends let each other drown? Of course not, you wanker. Then I guess the other 20% was me pulling your limp body from the water to revive you. And that is the end of that chapter. Dang, that chapter was longer than I expected. I'm sorry.
Oh, yes. Do you like my D20 earrings? They are the color of the pan flag. Thank you for noticing. Thank you. If you made it this far, thank you. Props. Major props. I will see you guys all in the next one. Oh, did I say subscribe? I don't know. Bye. Thank you to everyone on my Patreon. Your support means so much to me, and I couldn't do this without you.